Claude's free version has 3 features that completely change the way you use it. They're not hidden, they're right there in the interface, one step past the basic chat. The chat box works on its own, type something in, get something back. That's fine for a lot of tasks, but there's a level beyond that where Claude produces structured, editable outputs in their own space, where your context carries from conversation to conversation, and where what you get back reflects exactly what you asked for. In this video, we're on screen covering all 3. The first one is chats. This is how to structure your prompts so that Claude gives you a precise result, and also a bit of an overview of the different models and the thinking model. And then we'll move on to artifacts, what they are and how you can start to build something with Claude, such as an app. And then we'll move on to projects. This is a workspace that gives you consistent results, meaning that you can dive straight back into work every time. So let's get into it. So when you open Claude, it's a really nice, clean interface. Over here, you can see we've got chats, projects, and artifacts. So we're going to start off with chats. So the first thing you'll notice here is you can select the model and also the effort level. So we're going to keep it on Sonnet 4.6 because that's the one that's available in this free plan that we're testing. We've also got Opus 4.8, which is a much more complex model and much better for complex tasks. Then we've got Fable 5, which is actually being restricted in a lot of places due to the power of it. And when we click on the downward arrow again, we can see here effort level. So we can go low, medium, high, or maximum. So this is the amount of effort it's going to go through and the amount of processing and the number of tokens it's going to take. So if it's something really complex, you'll want to head towards maximum. I typically gravitate between low to medium, depending on the type of work that I'm doing. We can also select thinking, that bit down here. So when we select the thinking block, it actually starts to reason through the problem internally, and then it'll give you a step-by-step thought process so you can see the steps that it went through to get to the conclusion. So it allows you to see the logic behind how it got to an answer. So it's very easy to then diagnose where it might have gone wrong and where you want to tweak it. So for now, we'll just leave it on the default settings and we'll add in our first prompt. So the first prompt we want to add is we want to get a nice email written for us. And you can see here it's come back with a really nice email. And this is really important when you notice that the prompt itself, here we haven't just said, write us an email. We've told it what it relates to, what the tone is, and also what's the call to action. And then it's drafted it for us. And then we can actually open it in Mail itself if we've connected that to one of our Hotmail or Gmail accounts, or we can also copy and paste it through to that and then manually edit it afterwards. So that's what chat is. It's a back and forth, like you're having a conversation with a colleague. And that's the way that I would go about it. Treat it like your colleague. Treat it like someone who's an expert in their field. Have a conversation with it. It's not just like Google search where you enter in one prompt and then it gives you an answer. Have a back and forth and challenge its thinking. Ask it deeper questions. Remember, you're using this as a colleague or a team member to help give you advice or do work that might be low value and repeatable. The next thing that we'll move on to is artifacts. So when Claude responds in chat, you usually get text, a paragraph, a list, an answer to a question. And that works for most things. And that's probably where I spend 50% of my time. But when you ask Claude to build something that needs its own space to actually be useful, a separate panel opens alongside the conversation. That's called an artifact. If you use Google before, you've got Google Gemini, and then you've got Google Canvas within that as well. So within the chat version, you've got the Canvas, and it opens up a separate panel so you can see what's being built and you can collaborate. So this is what an artifact is. And that matters because you can track each thing that you're building and it will iterate and you can improve on it and you can see as it gets better, and you can also track the changes. So we're going to build our own new artifact. So we click on new artifact, start from scratch, and then we're going to put the prompt in here. So what we want to do is build a very nice simple to-do list with a checkbox. And when we click on that checkbox, it will strike through the text to say that's been completed. So let's get Claude to build that artifact for us. And now you can see on the right hand side here, this is where the collaboration starts. So we've got the text panel over here where we can interact with the model. And then on the right hand side, we've got what is being built. And you can see up here, you can toggle between the user interface, which is what we can see here. And you can also inspect the code. So this is HTML code and what is the back end behind what this user interface looks like. So this has done a very good job here. So when we click it, it will actually strike through that. And we could host this on a website if we wanted to. But for now, we're just going to use it in the app. Now what we want to do is we want to update this. So this is building upon this as a collaborative tool. In this instance, we also want to put a text input field at the top. So what it's going to do, it's going to create a second version of this, and it's going to build upon the great work that it's already done. And you can see it's going through the HTML, it's updating the HTML itself, and then over here on the right hand side, it'll update the model. And as you can see over here on the right hand side, we've now got the updated version of the coding that it's just completed. So we're going to add a new task just like that using the text box. So this is how you can use this space to work collaboratively and build a tool that might be useful to host on a website or to just use within Claude itself. So that's what an artifact is. So the next thing we're going to explore is projects. So when we come over here on the left hand side, you can see projects, and we'll click on that. So whereas with the chats that we went through first off, every time you interact with Claude in a chat, you start from zero. Claude doesn't know who you are, what you're working on, or what kind of output you're looking for. You have to set that context through the prompt, sometimes explicitly, sometimes naturally. Either way, you have to do it over and over again at the start of every conversation. Projects removes that step entirely. Think of a project as a dedicated workspace for a specific area of your work. You'll give it a name, you'll upload relevant files, documents, guidelines, reference materials, and you write a set of custom instructions that apply to every single conversation that you open within that project. So when you start a chat within a project, Claude references all of those items that you've added into the backend, so it has the context using the files and the instructions, and you can go straight to work in a way that is relevant to that piece of work. So for instance, if you're a marketing professional and you want to create a blog article every week, instead of doing it through chat and trying to describe what tone you want to take on, the brand guidelines, you'd build a project as a blog article writer, and you'd start there every time. It'd have all of the context. You might be a project manager and you want to create a project timeline each time. And again, instead of doing that in chat or as an artifact, you create a project with all of the customization done in the backend through the instructions and the reference materials. And again, the second that you create the chat, it references all of those things, gives it the context, gives it what you're trying to achieve, and gives you the output much quicker. So think of this as reusable content, something that you do over and over again on a weekly or a monthly or even a daily basis. And you just want to skip those first few steps of telling it where you want to get to, how you want to go about it, what the instruction sets. You just dive straight in and it gives you much more consistent outputs. So we're going to go and create a new project now up here, and we're going to call it content strategy. And over here on the right hand side, we're going to add in some instructions. And when we add in the instructions, what we're doing is we're creating that template for it to refer to. So it's telling them what market we work in, what's the brand tone, and we're assuming that the audience is senior. So we're telling it who we want to talk to as part of the project. And we're giving it context. So every time it will refer to this. We don't have to do it every time we have a chat with it. So now we'll save the instructions. We can also add files for reference. So it will reference these files to give it even more context. So the instructions is more the style and how you want it to operate, and the files is a reference that it can make sure that it's giving you things that are relevant to your business or the outputs that you're trying to create. So you can upload from the device. So if you had a brand strategy or marketing guidelines, you can add those, or you can also add it as text context. So we can put in here brand guidelines, and then we're going to put in our marketing brand guidelines in here as a text. Then we're going to add that context, and you can see here we've got that reference. And now we've got the project set up. So how would this work in practice? Over here again, we've got the chats, we've got the artifacts, and we're going to go back into projects. And you can see here, once we click on projects, instead of this being blank now, we've got content strategy. So I'm going to go into content strategy. And in the chat window here, I'm going to put in the prompt, I want a LinkedIn post. And now when I submit that, it's going to look at the brand guidelines, it's going to look at the instructions, and it's going to give me a response that's much more catered towards what I wanted to do on a consistent output. So here we have that LinkedIn post that it's just given us based on that project. So again, projects are really good for repeatable tasks that you do daily, weekly, or even monthly, where you want a consistent approach, whereas chat is much better for one-off interactions and a deep dive on something that might be a bit more ad hoc. So with Claude, those are the three main features: chats, artifacts, and projects. Chats are where everything starts. The way you structure your prompt, the task, the background, the rules, it directly shapes what comes back to you. The difference between a vague prompt and a structured one isn't subtle. So work on your prompts and give it all the context it needs for really good outcomes. And it's a really good skill to build. Artifacts give Claude somewhere to put the things that it builds, and it allows you to collaborate with it. It's not just text in a conversation, it's working on outputs, it's working with you on code, pages, documents, and different tools, and they all sit within their own panel alongside the chat, and you can test it and you can refine it. The conversation stays clean and the output evolves with each iteration. The final thing we went through is projects, and this is the layer that ties it all together. Your files, your instructions, and the context, all of it goes with the workspace. Every time you open a new conversation inside a project, Claude is already up to speed with what you want to achieve. You don't need to repeat yourself, and you can go straight to work. All three of these are in the free version of Claude. Nothing that you've seen in this video requires a subscription. So sign up to Claude, start with one, pick the feature that's most relevant to what you're working on right now and give it a go. That's how this becomes part of how you actually work, not just something you watched a video about and then it gets forgotten about. If this helped you, subscribe for more weekly deep dives and check out my other video linked to here where I go through Google Gems and show you how you can achieve the same things with inside Google. So thank you for watching and I'll see you on the next one.